Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me? If you can hear me, please give me a thumbs up. All right, cool. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the District of Brown Deer School Board meeting for our Tuesday, May 24, 2022 meeting. I will call this meeting to order at 6:06 p.m. I'm Dr. Todd Beadle. Verification of a public notice. The meeting was publicly noticed. Verification of a quorum. We do have all 7 board members in attendance this evening. Approval of the agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Dr. Beadle, I'll move to accept the agenda as presented tonight.
Okay, I'm not hearing. Okay, who made the motion? Was it Felita?
Yes.
All right, do we have a second?
Dr. Beadle, I'll second. Can you hear me?
All right, hold on one second.
Okay.
Yeah, something is.
Okay, better. All right, the motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raise hand and or aye. Lisa? Okay, there we go. All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0. Our mission statement is, together with our family and community, we will inspire students to be passionate learners, creative thinkers, and innovative leaders who enrich our world. Now, before we go into our item number 2, our district communication, we are having, tonight is a meeting that we do have public comments. Ms. Dorinthia Robinson will be actually monitoring the chat this evening for public comment. And I am going to read to you, the board has opted to have a public comment period at the school board meeting. Comments are limited to the agenda items only. So ladies and gentlemen, you can only have a comment about agenda items that are part of the agenda, nothing different. Each commenter is limited to 3 minutes for the commenter's remarks. The maximum total amount for the time for public comment is 30 minutes for the entire board meeting. Each commenter shall be identified by their name, their name and their address, and whether or not they have students currently enrolled in the school district or a staff person in the district itself. Comments must be directed solely to the board and or its designee and must not be addressed to any other members of the audience during any part of this meeting. The comment during the public comment period are reminded that the information provided this evening is intended to provide information to the board so that it can fulfill its role. In receiving the public comment, the board encourages the commenter to engage in civil discourse that models character and ethical behavior. So in other words, let's be respectful to each other within our public comments when we do this. So again, if you do have a comment, please go into our chat. Mr. Dorinthia Robinson, who is our vice president, will be monitoring the chat. Please, in that chat, put in your name, your address, and whether or not you have students or you are an employee of the district itself, and then what your comment is, and then what we'll do is we'll read that part, and then we will be able to say your piece. But remember, it is only for items that are on the agenda for this evening. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. So now let's go on to our number 2, district communication. Dr. Monica Kelsey Brown, the floor is yours.
Good evening, board members and the Brown Deer community. Just a few updates among many, let me say, for the district administrator's report. I am pleased to announce we engaged in the writing of the CLC grant for our elementary school. We were awarded the grant last week in the amount of $130,000 for 5 years. So that totals $650,000. We will be able to continue to operationalize our CLC grant at the elementary school. And I want to say thank you to our grant writer, Ms. Susan Stucker, and Ellen Shimmons, who was part of, and Rebecca Olson, who came together to help pull that grant writing process off. So again, as we know, we lost our CLC grant years ago. Then the board approved us using fund dollars to continue with the CLC, and now we've been awarded dollars by the state again. So I am happy to report we have gotten those dollars back to continue to run our CLC grant at the elementary school. So we are very proud of that. About a month ago, I did share with the board and the community, we also received the Get Kids Initiative Mental Health Grant. Originally, the dollar amount I quoted was $10,000, only to find out a little later, we actually have been awarded a total of $32,000 for the mental health grant. So look forward to more to come on that. We are winding down with our end of year activities. I am pleased to report that our prom last Saturday, Enchanted Gardens, we had 170 students at prom, and it was excellence and elegance all wrapped up in one. Our students looked amazing, and it was a night of fun for our students at the Mitchell Park Domes. So kudos to all the staff members who played a role in pulling that off. This Saturday is graduation. Graduation will begin at 1 o'clock in the Novak Family Fieldhouse. So we look forward to sending off the class of 2022 to continue to go on and be great. In addition, I participated in a press release with Attorney General Call, from the state around the National Identification Program. And so we were asked to partner with them in order to, each one of our students and families received a kit, a toolkit where families can take fingerprints and other information they can have on hand in the event that a student, heaven forbid, comes up missing. And so we will have that information, all of our families will have that information at their discretion if that indeed happens. So we were pleased to send one kit home with every single student in our school district. In addition to that, just want to remind, I sent a Sky Alert out to families to remind everyone of all of the other end of year activities that are happening. 8th grade completion is June 1st. We are celebrating our 5K students on June 2nd. And there's some end of year activities for our 5th graders and our 8th graders as they transition to 9th grade and 6th grade for the 22-23 school year. And so that's a little bit about what has been happening in the district administrators camp this year or in the past few weeks, I would say. And if the board has any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Board members, questions for Dr. Kelsey Brown in relation to her update? Outside of wonderful job of you and your team being able to write that CLC grant, we know that that was something that we were really passionate about in relationship to ensuring that our students had after school programming and something that we actually had put into the budget. So now, since we have received the grant, that means that we've got some dollars to be able to go to some other efforts and stuff. So great job with our grant writing team and being able to do that. And as always, we are so glad that our students were able to enjoy a regular prom this year because of the pandemic the last couple of years and stuff, and them not being able to really enjoy that. So we're really glad that they were able to enjoy themselves and have such a wonderful turnout. Dr. Kelsey Brown, you say 160, was it 160 some odd students?
170 students participated in prom.
170 students and not one incident. So yeah, that's even better blessings for us and stuff. And we're glad that those students were able to enjoy themselves. And we look forward to these upcoming events on June 1st and on June 2nd for these graduation things and stuff and commencements. All right. Dr. Kelsey Brown, you want to do the, let's move on to our showcase.
Yes, before I do that, Dr. Beto, I just want to make mention of the fact that a Sky Alert went out today regarding information around COVID as well. So just wanted families to know how we are responding to the increase in COVID numbers. We know we are a district that is mask optional. However, we are saying we are highly recommending that we wear the facial coverings, given the increase in the numbers. So just wanted to be mindful of that, and parents will still receive a letter when a COVID positive case shows up in the classroom, so they can be aware that a student was in the classroom, and then the parents can decide on how they would like to proceed as it relates to their students. So I wanted to add that before we moved on to the community showcase. So any questions about the COVID piece, though, before I move on?
I guess, Monica, is there, Dr. Kelsey Brown, I'm sorry, is there anything that to where we would end up back into that emergency period to where we would make it masks would have to be, and we'd enforce mask wearing within all of our buildings?
Yes, we have I believe it's a 3% threshold, 5% threshold in order to, 5% thank you, everybody, for helping me. A 5% threshold in terms of cases that would make the determination for us to return to being fully masked.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kelsey Brown. Any other board members, any other questions in relation to our questions? Ms. Ashley?
Yes, Dr. Kelsey Brown, and is the district still doing testing and performing testing for staff and students in the district, or offering it?
Yes, we partnered with Health Connections again, and they've been absolutely wonderful. We have been able to reach out to them, and their turnaround time has been great. So recognizing what we have just seen in the past week, they'll be here tomorrow, I believe, on site for testing. And I also sent the link. As you all know, the federal government came out with an additional link where you can send in for additional COVID tests. And so I provided that link to the entire district. And so they can order additional home kits. That's what it's referred to. They can order additional home kits on their own as well. So we continue to partner with Health Connections for testing as well.
Yes, Ms. Peterson.
Great information, Dr. Kelsey Brown. I'm understanding that the threshold is 5%, but and you may not have this answer in its entirety, but are we experiencing any COVID in the school that you're aware of?
Yes, we are. We are. So 5%, and that's the student threshold, just so we're aware. And right now at the middle and high school, we are aware that we have, Sharonda, if you're on here and I misspeak, please chime in. But right now we have one student at each grade level at the middle and high school that's COVID positive, or that has been reported to us as COVID positive. They're not in the buildings any longer. We still follow the 5-day, where you're out for 5 days and then you come back masked for the 5 days.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Kelsey Brown.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm on. Hi, everybody. Don't have my video on. We did add more cases at the end of the day, so we're up to about 9 cases in the middle high school. I think we have one at every grade level except 10th grade.
All right.
Thank you, Sharonda.
You're welcome.
Nurse Farrington, while we have you on the line, you've done a wonderful job of being able to collaborate and being able to have the shots, the vaccines being taking place over at the elementary school. Are we going to continue to be able to, is that program going to continue to happen now and then over through the course of the summer?
So we could possibly have some things over the summer. At this time, the last time we spoke with Health Connections, cases were low. So we decided to take a pause. So we will go back to Health Connections and figure out what we need for the summer if cases continue to rise.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, because I was definitely interested in that, in all of the boosters and everything else like that. So, okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right, Dr. Kelsey Brown, let's go and continue into our district showcase.
Okay, all right. We will begin with one of our very own students, Ben Skiba. Our very own Ben Skiba, who is a senior and a tennis player, was featured on April 17th for the Fox 6 News Spotlight. He was chosen as the Fox 6 Senior Spotlight because of his entrepreneurial skills. When Ben is not in the classroom or on the tennis court, he buys and sells shoes online. Coach Matusik, Brown Deer's tennis coach, noted that Ben was very engaged with the reporter and the film crew. He even showed off his tennis drills with his teammates, as well as explained his passion for shoes. Is Ben on this evening? I know we reached out to him. I do not see him. So if you get a chance to go on Fox 6's website, you can see the interview with Ben Skiba. And so he did a great job that evening. And thank you to Coach Matusik, who has been around as Brown Deer's tennis coach for quite some time. So thank you, Mr. Matusik, for making this happen for Mr. Skiba. Moving on, I would like to recognize 3 of our teachers for the Teacher of the Year Award. Each year, the Metropolitan Milwaukee Alliance of Black School Educators presents the Teacher of the Year Award, so one teacher in each metropolitan Milwaukee area school. Recipients must meet the several criteria, including the teacher must have taught for at least 5 years. The teacher must be a teacher who has evidenced exemplary skills in instructing children and young adults. He or she must strongly believe that all children young adults can learn. He or she has continually evidenced self-motivation in seeking and engaging in professional growth activities to improve or enhance the educational offerings of our students. The teacher has continually made teaching and learning exciting for our students. We are proud to announce our 3 teachers, one in each building, elementary, middle, and high school, who were awarded the Teacher of the Year Award on May 7th at the Wisconsin Center. So at the elementary school, we have our 4th grade teacher, Ms. Cheryl Lewis. At the middle school, we have Sarah Griffey, our middle school instructional coach. And at the high school, we have Ms. Betsy Zellner, our high school special education teacher. And I believe they are all on this evening. If you would like to say a few words, that would be greatly appreciated.
Oh, I didn't know I was going to be saying words, but thank you so much. Thank Mr. Griffin for nominating me. It's been a pleasure working for the district. And as many of you know, my daughter graduated as well. So I'm just honored and very grateful. I love what I do. I love working with the kids every day. And I love working with my colleagues. They supported me and helped me every day with receiving this great honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you
Zellner?
very much. I really appreciate being nominated. It's meant a lot to me. I've been working here at Brown Deer for 15 years, and I really enjoy working at the high school and middle school students. I enjoy working with my colleagues and most of all, my students, the diversity and all the different disabilities. I really enjoy spending time and teaching the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zellner. And Ms. Griffey. Is Sarah able to make it on? Okay. All right. I don't say Ms. Griffey. So thank you to all of you. All 3 of you exemplify what we know here as the Brown Deer Way. You are exceptionally dedicated, knowledgeable, and skilled educators. We appreciate you. And again, congratulations, Sarah, Cheryl, and Betsy. Thank you so much for your amazing work with our students. You are appreciated. Thank you. Okay. And finally, we have special guests with us this evening. I'll just read a little bit about the Brown Deer Junior Women's Club. We have 2 of our guests in the back with us, but they're on with us on their device. So the Brown Deer Junior Women's Club is a community organization that has been a tremendous support to Brown Deer and our students. The Brown Deer Junior Women's Club has made several contributions and donations through their work in the Brown Deer School District, including donations for the Best Buddies program, school supplies, and cleaning supplies. Tonight, we are joined by Carolyn Mitchell and Danielle from the Brown Deer Junior Women's Club, who would like to say a few words.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Mitchell, and I've been in the Brown Deer Junior Women's Club for about 22 years. I know I joined when I was 3. So I just want to give you a little background on what the club is and what we do in the community. We're a group of women who our tagline is women working together for the betterment of our communities. So we raise money all year. I know many of you have probably attended our rummage sales. We just had a bunco event on Saturday night at the community center and a few other events during the year. And then that money all goes back to the community in one way or another. As Dr. Brown said, we are here tonight to share some of the wealth and give some donations to the school district. However, in the last couple of weeks, we've also made some donations to other community groups, and I just wanted to share that with you as well. We gave $1,000 to the library, $500 each to the police department and the North Shore Fire Department, and $500 towards the 4th of July fireworks. So just because the community is so supportive of all of our fundraising events, this year we were able to give back to the community $7,038.
So for the schools, we had $1,000 donation to the Education Foundation for the scholarships for the high school. We also take requests every year from all 3 schools from faculty members for things that they would like. We were able to fulfill 4 of those requests this year. So we have $500 for David Lucre for the makerspace to buy engineering kits for his students. We have $1,038 for Nina Overholzer at the elementary school to buy a math literacy skills kit. We have $500 for Jerry Hauser for the Best Buddies for their annual dues and other expenses. And we have $500 for Dana Rosman for the DECA to put towards their trip for their competition. So as always, we really appreciate the community support and we're happy to give back. And thank you for having us tonight. And we will be handing over these checks. So.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Carolyn, for joining us this evening. We appreciate it, and we always talk about paying it forward. That's what we do here in the Brown Deer School District, so in the Brown Deer community. So thank you all so much for joining us this evening, and we look forward to the continued partnership.
Thank you.
And thank you. Our membership is open, so if anybody's interested, check us out, browndeerclub.com.
All right, Dr. Beadle, that ends the district showcase for this evening.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kelsey Brown. I mean, that last presentation brought up Brown Deer Junior Women's Club. Incredible, ladies. Since I've been on the board for the last 6 years, you've always come through for us in any shape, form, or fashion. So again, we'd like to thank you so much for your charitable donations, all of the work that you do for us, the volunteering, and everything. And this is our public service announcement. Anybody that would love to be part of the Brown Deer Junior Women's Club, please contact them in order to be able to do that. And the time and energy needed for that is wonderful when you start to think about the connection and what you give back to the community. So thank you very much. And if there are others want to be able to do that, man, please contact them. All right. Thank you very much. Now, with that being said, let's go on to our public comments. Ms. Robinson, do we have anyone that has gone into the chat for public comments? Anyone with public comments, please? It seems as though we do have a lot of individuals from the public in attendance this evening virtually. Please, if you do have a comment that you would like to make about an agenda item that we have in place right now, please just go into the chat, put your name and your address in, and we'll be happy to let you be able to have your comment shared. And public comment is on the agenda. Actually, it is item number 3. And the topics would be anything that is actually part of the agenda for this evening. which would include our facilities and grounds updates. Okay, and I apologize. We do have individuals that do have a topic they'd like to discuss, but it is not part of our agenda this evening. I just want to reiterate again to the public that in order for you to be able to have a comment, it has to be something that is actually part of our agenda. That is part of the agenda. So if there are any items that aren't on here that you would like to have potentially be discussed in the future, please send that out to Dr. Kelsey Brown and Ms. Donna Ross, who is the administrative assistant to the board, and see if that may be something that we may be able to have as an agenda item in the future. All right, we'll give it another 30 seconds. All right, let's go on to item number 4, our consent agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So Dr. Beadle, I can make a motion to approve the consent agenda, including the minutes of the April 12th, 2022 special meeting, the minutes of the April 26th, 2022, the regular board meeting, the schedule of voucher payments via ACH and wire transfers in the amount of $877,186.37 in the general checking account and the food service account, including funds 10, 21, 27, 39, 47, 49, 50, 72, and 80, and the May 24th, 2022 school safety drill update as it's presented tonight.
I'm sorry, and you meant the May 24th, not May 22nd. May 24th, 2022 school safety.
I'm sorry, yes, let me correct that and say May 24th, 2022.
All right, thank you very much. A motion has been made. Do we have a second? All right, Ms. Macon has made a second, but you're on mute. So if you could turn off mute, Ms. Macon.
Okay, I'd like to second. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Macon. A motion has been made and seconded. Do we have any further discussion?
I do have a comment that I want to make as it pertains to the school safety drill update. I noticed that for some of the items, we're given more detail than we are for some others. It would be helpful if we could have that higher level of detail for all of those items going forward.
All right, thank you very much for that comment. And I think Ms. Schmeitzke is actually on the line and in attendance and stuff. And hopefully we'll be able to have that addition for that. Any other comment before we go to vote? Hearing and seeing none, all with raised hand and or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0. All right, let's go on to our next item. Item 5, items for discussion, consideration, and possible board action. A, our facilities and grounds update. Ms. Schmeitzke.
Good evening, Board of Education. You have all been keeping up, I'm sure, on all of our weekly updates, mine included. This past month has really been a bit of a whirlwind with our new HVAC technician coming on board. So the majority of my time has really been spent with him, acclimating him with the buildings, and of course, switching over from winter to summer. And along with that, we had some pretty hot days, and we did find a number of motors and other items on our HVAC equipment that do need to be repaired. So So we're working through those repairs as well. And what better way to get acclimated with the equipment than to have some repairs to do on it. So that has been the majority of my month. I also attended my first WSCA board meeting as a newly elected board member to the Wisconsin School Safety Coordinators Association. As well as last week, I attended WASBO, which is the Wisconsin Association of School Business Officials, where I was, are you hearing me?
I am now.
Okay. Hopefully you
Okay.
didn't miss too much. So I did attend WASBO last week where it's a really great opportunity to network with other schools as well as talk to vendors about the latest and greatest offerings for schools. So I took a lot away with me from last week. And then the final thing that I have been really focused on is using the Fund 50 funds that we have available and working with our vendors as far as getting quotes for the walk-in freezer, which we do have a quote on. I'm still waiting for a couple of other items for that. And then we are considering looking at sub-metering our kitchen spaces, which essentially means that we are able to really focus in on the energy that comes that's being used in those spaces and paying that portion of our energy bills out of Fund 50 rather than from our general fund. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I've been working on in the past month. If the board has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions for Ms. Meitska?
I have one question out of curiosity. You mentioned the demo that you saw with the walkies.
Yeah,
What's different with those from what you already have?
So that's a great question, Ms. Robinson. We currently have an analog system. These walkies work digitally, so we can use them through the Wi-Fi as well as through cellular data. They offer quite a few things that our current walkie-talkies do not offer. We can have a number of different stations. So if the high school personnel want to be on their separate station, they can be. Maintenance can have their own separate station, so on and so forth. There's also a way to do an all call for an emergency situation, and people who are designated as emergency responders get pulled into a separate channel where we can all talk. There's a lot of really great features with these. We're struggling a little bit with the cellular piece. There are some dead zones within the school, particularly in the mechanical spaces. So we are looking at that. We are assessing that. I know that Kara's team has, I've turned them over to her to demo now. I looked at them a couple of weeks ago and now her team is doing a little demo as well. But they seem to have a lot of really great features. This is not the only walkie that's out there though, but this one is nice and compact. It's not as heavy and big as our current walkies either. So I'm optimistic about finding a good solution for us.
Do any of the digital ones come with an analog option if there was some type of an emergency where we lost connectivity or anything?
So I don't know about other companies. I don't think that this particular one has that option. It's a really good question. And that's certainly something that we can look into further. The analog system that we're currently on is not going to be in existence anymore. So that's really the other thing that's pushing us forward to looking at other options.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions from the board that I can answer?
Yeah, Jody, actually, I don't know if this was just kind of a typo. So did you think, was it 2 companies that you met with on Thursday or was it 1 company on Thursday?
It was 1 company. I noticed that too. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you very much. Board members, any other questions for Ms. Meitska in relationship to this? All right, thank you very much, Jody. All right, let's move on to our next item, Mr. Klimick.
Good evening, members of the board. The next item is approval of new hires, and we do have a couple this evening for the 2022-23 school year as we are starting the wonderful hiring process for the next school year. So we have 2 candidates in front of you tonight. Nellie Gehrig as the high school art teacher. This is the new position that you approved at the last board meeting. And then Jacqueline Amont as the district literacy coordinator, who will be replacing Holly Warren Renault.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Klimick. Would someone like to make a motion to approve these hirings?
Dr. Beadle, I can make the motion, but should I do them together or separately?
Separately.
Okay, sounds great. I'd like to make a motion to approve the hiring of Nellie Garrick as a high school art teacher for the 2022-23 academic school year.
All right. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second. This is Dorothea Macon. I'm
All
going
right,
to second.
All right, thank you very much. A motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and/or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously. We welcome Ms. Garrick to the District of Brown Deer for the 2022-2023 school year. All right, Ms. Peterson?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the hiring of Jacqueline Amont as the district literacy coordinator for the 2022-23 academic school year.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second.
I will second, Dr. Beadle.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. She made it there first. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and/or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0. We welcome Jacqueline, amen, as the district literacy coordinator for the 2022-2023 academic school year. So welcome, welcome ladies to the district. We look forward to wonderful things and being able to help provide our students with a high quality education in the areas that you'll be coming into. So thank you very much. All right, let's go on to item C, resignations. Mr. Klimick.
Yes, we do have two resignations of staff that'll be leaving us at the end of this school year. We have Michelle Miller, who's a third grade teacher, and Nina Overholzer, who's an elementary school instructional coach.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion for the resignations?
Dr. Beadle, I'll make a motion to approve the resignation of Michelle Miller as elementary school teacher effective June 6, 2022.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Dr. Beadle, I'll second.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ashley. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and/or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0 for the resignation of Michelle Miller. And our next one is for Nina Overholzer.
I will make a motion to approve the resignation of Nina Overholzer as elementary school academic coach effective June 6, 2022.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Dr. Beadle.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and/or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0. All right, as we always say, we hate when we have some of our teachers or our academic staff leave us. You know, we always say, once a Falcon, always a Falcon. We wish them well in their future endeavors. And, you know, Brown Deer will always be home. So if so, please always continue and always remember that part. All right, let's move on forward to our item number D, our memorandum of understanding with American Relaxation Counseling Services. Would that be Dr. Kelsey Brown?
It would be Miss Brown, the high school principal.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just to kind of frame the services that are being offered, the counseling service reached out to me and stated that they received a grant and would like to partner with Brown Deer School District to provide mental health services for our students. I was very pleased when they contacted me because they also said since they received a grant, they wouldn't charge our students to provide services. And we also currently have partnership with Lutheran Services to provide counseling to our students, and they have filled up very quickly. So we have more students that wanted mental health services that we weren't able to service because they just filled up too quickly. So when this opportunity came to the high school, I was more than willing to see how we could partner together. It's been a very seamless partnership. They basically said, if you have students in need of mental health services and you have space for me, we will come to Brown Deer High School. We will set up every single day. They will bring multiple counselors and they will provide mental health services to our students. So I don't know if the representative is online.
I do see someone, yes.
I'm here.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Okay, so, sorry. So what we are, I'm happy that they're here. And so they can go in more detail and explain the services that they will provide. And if we have any additional questions, either they will be able to answer the questions, otherwise I will make any follow-up or answer any questions. So at this time, I'm not sure if that's April. I'm sorry, Amber. Hello.
She was just on, I don't know what happened. Okay, she's back.
Hi, do you want to share a few words about the partnership, the services that you'll be providing at Brown Deer High School? One more thing that I would like to say, right now they're partnering with Brown Deer High School, but they are interested in a 612 partnership. So as we start providing services, they are more than willing to grow the services to meet some of the needs at the middle school as well. Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to you now.
Absolutely. So, like you stated, we are looking to partner with the Brown Deer District. We will provide counseling services to the students and families. The insurance the cost of it will be free to some students if they do not have insurance. If they do have insurance, we can go through the insurance, or it could be like a service pay for the services. But overall, we're looking to partner with the Brown Deer and see if we can help as many students as possible.
And I would just like to add, if anyone has been following the research as it relates to the increase in anxiety and depression, our students are experiencing, and this is data that actually existed pre-pandemic. We know we're seeing an increase. We know that it has been exacerbated, if you will, by the pandemic. And so we know and understand our students are asking for the services, and we want to be in a position to be able to provide them with the services that are necessary for them to continue to be successful in school. If you're looking at any of the media outlets as it talks about mental health in our students, that is something we are going to have to be responsive to at a far greater rate than we have traditionally been in the K-12 school setting. So to the extent that we can be responsive to this, I think it's very important as we continue to think about what our students have experienced throughout this pandemic, and know that there will be some residual or lingering effects of what they will be managing through their lives as we continue to graduate our students from the school district of Brown Deer. So this will be extremely helpful, as right now I will say that we do not currently have the capacity to meet the needs of what we know as it relates to students who are requesting mental health services here in the school district of Brown Deer.
All right.
I have a question.
I was getting ready to go through that part. All right. Board members, questions. Ms. Smith.
Hi, I think this is good. Could you walk us through how, kind of a timeline or steps that you would take from referral, or I know you're doing high school, so maybe self-identification to when services would begin, And are students always meeting with the same clinician? And kind of give me a little background on how parents are kept in the loop with what services the students are receiving.
So I think I will start out answering some of those questions, and then you are definitely welcome to chime in. So the counseling agency is not working in isolation. They are part of our student support team. And so we will continue our SST meetings, and we will identify meetings. On our SST, we have counselors, we have our school psychologist, our social worker, classroom teacher referrals. So we have this large net to try to identify students who are in need of services. And then once we identify students, we will definitely give the counseling partners referrals, but students can also self-identify. And there is not going to be a long waiting period. I was very strongly stated that our students need services now. So they offered multiple counselors. So we are looking to start services right away. I even went back to Kevin and said, well, we'll have summer school this summer. Can they even start this summer? So our intent is to identify students. We know students right now who are experiencing grief, depression, other mental health concerns. We are going to give those names. They will start the paperwork with parent consent, talk about insurance information, and our goal is to start services right away. Mrs. Smith, was I able to answer the questions, or did you have additional?
No, that you did answer, but one of the things, I was just looking at the format, would it be one-on-one counseling that they're providing? And will the student begin a counseling relationship with just one? Because she said she has multiple counselors. Will that student be able to always see the same clinician?
Our goal is for them to develop a personal relationship, because we are going to try to provide long-term care as long as we are able to continue this partnership. So our goal is to provide consistency with our counseling provider. And this is one-on-one because of confidentiality, HIPAA concerns. So we will definitely have one-on-one.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think Ms. Peterson first, then Ms. Ashley.
Mrs. Brown, I think that this is amazing. I think this is a great opportunity for us to address some of the concerns, emotional concerns that our students have. I may have missed it, but I'm wondering, is this just going to be for the high school students, or do we have any plans to implement this in the middle schools and maybe even the elementary schools, because we have found that there are problems from an emotional standpoint in our young children as well. So I was just curious to know if it will go any further than high school.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Good question. I think this year more than anything, Mr. Griffin, Ms. Pitchford, and myself, we kind of made like an agreement. Like if we have something that your school needs, that we want to share resources as much as possible. So right now they started in high school because they initially contacted me, but my conversation with them is that we have a need across the district, and our goal is to get a foundation in the high school, but then of course provide services to all students, well, as many as we can provide with the amount of counselors that they have.
And I think this is a great service they're providing, so I do thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Ashley.
Yeah, so my question has to do with the delivery of services. Are the services going to be delivered here on school, or will students and families be expected to travel to the offices of the American Relaxation Service?
Very good question again. The reason I was so pleased about this partnership is because they agreed to come to us. So we're going to break down a barrier of patient fitting another appointment into busy schedules, and they're actually going to be able to provide the services to us. One question right away would be, well, are they going to miss classroom instruction to be able to receive this service? And my answer to that is they will miss some classroom instruction, but there are, of course, particular classes that we will ask for them to pull the kids from. And next year, our blocks are probably going to be a little longer. So we are strategically going to ask them to pick it in the latter portion of classes so they get the new teaching for the day, and that independent practice is the portion of the class that they will miss. So we're trying to work out all of the kinks, but we are going to do our best to get services to kids and help them be able to only focus on being a typical teenager instead of dealing with other mental health needs.
Great. And I just have one other question in terms of the availability of services. And I know you talked about having the service providers available after school, but before school is actually a really good time too. And I'm just wondering in terms of, you know, the availability of the organization that you're partnering with, will we be able to, you know, be flexible and offer sometime during that morning period too? Because, you know, some kids arrive very, very early to school, and it would be really nice, particularly if there's the agreements that are in place, that the availability of those services are there too. And you're on mute, Ms. Brown. I think you're on mute. You were saying a whole lot.
No, I'm talking to my children. I was telling
Oh.
them.
That's what that is. I kept hearing kids. I was like, what is going on?
So I was multitasking. I was like, I'm talking, I can't. So you saw my lips moving, but I'm talking to the kids. But I'm definitely listening to your question. I can't guarantee right now that our counselors will start at 7 o'clock or 7:45. But if that is the best time for a student, we are going to try our absolute best to get the services to students. That is our goal. And if the morning time works best for them, I'm pretty sure they could be flexible for particular appointments to make that happen.
Thank you, and thank you so much. And I'm just loving how you are juggling family and work, and kudos to you for your commitment to the district while you're also, you know, working with your family.
Oh, no problem.
Okay. I have one other question just regarding what we have in place now. I understand that you're saying that it's not enough for the number of kids that want something, but who's providing the services that are now? And then you said, at first you said it was a grant that this would be under, but then it's going to be paid through, some will be paid through insurance. Is that how it's currently working with the people that we have servicing the students now? Or are those district people that there's too many requests for?
I need help with this one because I have not seen the official contract that we have with Jewish Lutheran or Jewish services.
Oh, you did send you.
So I'm not sure if those are also grant funded or if they're through an insurance provider. So I don't know if someone before me can help me with that one.
Ms. Smith, let us, if you would let us take the opportunity to look at the MOU, Jewish Family Services and Lutheran Social Services they have been with us for quite some time. I have not seen any invoices that I've signed to speak to anything we have paid for. I really believe that they are working with us to provide an in-kind service for our students. So they've been around for a while, but if you would allow us to take a look at the MOU, we can share that we can follow up and share that information with you.
Okay, sure. And then just one other question about, thank you, Dr. Brown, about the credentialing. What is the lowest level of credentialing? Are these PsyDs, are these psychologists, are these therapists? What, like your clinician group, and how does that break down?
I am going to refer to, all I see is your counseling. I'm not sure which representative, and I hate just not being able to say your name.
Okay.
Just 1 second.
So we
can you
have,
help? Yes, okay.
So we have LPCs in our clinic.
Okay.
That would be available.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions, Ms. Robinson?
Yes, I think Mrs. Brown started to speak to this a little bit already, but I wanted to ask in terms of summertime, will there be the opportunity for students to receive services either on in person or via video during the summertime?
So right now, we are in negotiations with the counseling company to solidify an exact start date. Like I said, I would love to start this summer. And if they would like to do Zoom counseling service meetings, that is very popular with the pandemic. It's one of the things that is very widely accepted. And so I'm pretty sure, like I said, they're willing to do whatever it takes to provide services. And so as long as we agree to start this summer, they said that they would be willing to. And I think asking for Zoom or virtual meetings is something that they're very willing to do. I have been very pleased with this company, their willingness to just come in and make whatever we can do to make this partnership happen. They've been very willing to work with us. So I don't think that that would be any problem to offer some virtual services.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Ms. Brown, I have two questions in relationship to this. Number one would be is where would, since they will be doing this on site, do we have a space that that'll be just designated for them to be able to provide those counseling services?
Yes, so I've been opening many doors at the high school, and believe it or not, I found some additional spaces. I found some spaces that can definitely be used. I know Jody perked up, but yes, I've been opening doors and I found some spaces. And some of our spaces will have to be shared, like the Jewish counseling services, they only come, I think, on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And so on the days that they're not using their space that we have for them, we can also put a counselor in there. So they may not have the exact same spot every single time, but they definitely will have a spot in our high school. And it's not like a little closet. We did have some spaces that we're able to make to small office areas.
Okay, thank you. And then my next question is in relationship to, we talked about HIPAA, and there are sometimes some students may have some stigmatism in relationship to being seen and known that they are receiving counseling services. Would they be able to do this to where, no one knows that they're going to counseling or whatever, like they're getting pulled out of class. And so people may know, like, oh, you're getting pulled out of class because you got to go to therapy or whatever have you. Do we have it set up to where it could be almost more anonymous, or the kids don't have that part to where people can identify and know that other students know that they're going for counseling?
So currently what we have now are like office aides. They deliver passes to come see our school counselors and other people in our building. So getting a pass to go somewhere will not be all right, like identifying you for counseling services, because that's the structure that we already have in place to go and see multiple different people in our building. And most of our counselors, they just sit in their office and the students just come in, close the door. Sometimes the other students don't even know who's sitting in that office area. So there is some privacy, but believe it or not, students have not been picked on for going in to see the counselor. I think it's becoming very well accepted in our school community about talking to people when you're struggling or having troubles, and really being able to get some supports and some strategies to help you cope in your daily life. So right now, we have the pass system. If we find that we need to do something else, we can always pivot and do something else. But right now, we think we have at least a starting routine to get services started.
Okay, thank you very much. I always want to be cognizant of that, because there are some students that may not want individuals to know that they are seeing a therapist or a counselor or whatever have you, and the stigmas that may be associated with that. And also like the idea that this is a counseling service that's actually right down the street in Brown Deer Arc. I'm familiar with them and everything. So yes, okay. All right, those were my questions. Board members, any other further questions for ARC?
Dr. Beadle, I just wanted to add too that the MOU that's in front of you was provided by American Relaxation Counseling Services, but I did run it through Bob Butler and he made a number of additions to it, which I've cleaned it up. So you're just seeing the MOU as presented and they are in agreement with all the changes we made. So we should be.
So this is the finished, so this is the finished
This is the
MOU,
finished one,
correct?
right? And as of the other day, as Ms. Brown mentioned, they did ask for a July 1st potential start date. So that's what I put in there for that toward the end of the contract. So that's our plan. I think they'll obviously need a few weeks to get up and running in June, but we'll be ready to help out in summer school toward the end. And then for the rest of the summer.
All right, sounds good. Board members, any other questions? Because this is actually a motion item. Any other questions?
I think that we're getting the horse in front of the cart, and you know, it's expected that we'll have more students that will need special services or mental health or emotional help. And so I think that that's really great that we have not one service, but two. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes. I think what the problem was you're on here twice somewhere. So I was sitting there looking at you and you are, yeah.
I'm sorry, let me leave over here. I can hear on the other computer. My apologies. So I'm gonna be out there. Okay, thank you. That one was off, actually. So, okay, are we good now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions before we, for someone makes a motion? All right, would someone like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with American Relaxation Services for the 2022-23 school year as presented.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. A motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'd like to second. This is Dorothea.
All right, Ms. Baker. All right, motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Dr. Beadle, can I just ask for a friendly amendment, just to make sure the official name of the organization is American Relaxation
Counseling Services.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right, with that correction in there, any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with a raised hand and or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0. All right. I'd like to thank ARC for their help in relationship to working with the school district and being able to provide those necessary counseling services for our students. All right, let's go on to our item E, approval of the student fees for the 2022-2023 school year. Mr. Clemming.
Yes, this is a continuation of an item we discussed a couple weeks ago. We have completed a review with a few of the departments that had not at that point. So what you see in front of you will be our final list for fees for the 2022-23 school year. That'll be implemented as part of the registration process. We will continue to kind of review that over the course of the year. Our goal was to get some of the fees back in place. So a lot of the costs are related to what they were a couple of years ago. So we haven't increased a lot. We are trying to, regain the fee structure without putting too much of a hardship on our families. And just as a reminder for our families is that we have also created the tiered system of either having access to either half price if you qualify for reduced lunch or potentially no cost for fees if you qualify for free lunch, but that does require families to complete the free and reduced application. That's something that they haven't had to do in a couple of years because of the lack of fees and the free lunches that were being distributed. So we are encouraging our families this year to go through that process because this could be an opportunity for them to receive those discounted prices on the fees.
Mr. Clemming, what about the high school? I don't see the school fee relationship to the high school. Are we only dealing with the elementary school and the middle school?
No, there's a second page. There's a high school general fees and then middle high school course fees.
Oh, maybe maybe mine is out of order. All right, because I see middle maximum charge of $150 per family, the middle school athletics. So maybe it was the second page or something else. I'm sorry.
There's a second page. It just starts with high school general fees, and then there's a large area for the middle high school course fees.
All right, thank you. All right. Board members, questions? Mr. Clemick.
So you mentioned that there haven't been really any increases. Were there any fees that were eliminated?
We did look through the course list of things that were on the list. There are some courses that are no longer being offered. There are some fees that are still on there that probably from a practical standpoint aren't really used. One of them is the Phi-Ed uniform, because most kids don't change clothes for gym anymore. So we'll continue to look at that. We do have it out there because occasionally that does happen. It is a potential fee. We'll continue to review those, but the main school fees haven't changed. Those were the same, and our athletic fees per sport didn't change. We just added those maximums. So a couple of the course fees did adjust because cost of workbooks or other materials did increase. So we made those adjustments. So it was relatively minor.
All right. Any other questions from Mr. Clemick in relationship to our discussion regarding school fees? All right, I just wanted to be able to let community know that as a board, we really look at the school fees and what potential hardships it could be for our families in relation to that. If you have multiple students that participate in our extracurricular activities as well as the school fees. So we definitely wanted to make sure that that would not be a deterrent to any of our families in relationship to them being able and their students being able to participate in any of our extracurricular activities, any other fees that may be associated with participating at Brown Deer. All right. With that being said, would someone like to make a motion to approve?
President Dr. Beadle, I'd like to motion to approve the schedule of student fees for the 2022-23 school year as presented.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Macon. A motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I will second.
I don't know. Ms. Walker, would you try? I guess. All right, Ms. Robinson, I see you there. I think Ms. Walker was trying to. I think she was on mute though. All right. Well, thank you very much. Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor with raised hand and or aye. All right. Motion carries unanimously 7-0. All right. For that. For the schedule of student fees for the 2022-2023 school year. All right, let's move on to our next item. Our next item is F, the approval of the 2022-23 Village Academy lease. Wait, would that be Mr. Clemick or would that be Dr. Kelsey Brown?
I can take it. It's no problem.
Okay.
So before you, at the request of Ms. Peterson at the last special board meeting, you will see information related to, or information regarding in the event we wanted to break the lease for a reason. And so this is the final draft of the Village Academy lease as Mr. Clemick and Mr. Pastor Davis have worked out any kinks or the last piece at, again, Ms. Peterson's request. And so tonight, board members, we are asking for approval of the 22-23 Village Academy lease. And this is our partnership with New Life Worship Center, where Pastor Jarton Davis resides.
So there's a 90-day vacant. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Board members, questions before we go into motions? Yes, Ms. Peterson.
I don't have a question. I just want to say that I had the opportunity to see the space. I believe it was last week. And I think that it is a good move and a good space for us to accomplish and achieve what we're looking to have here. So,
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Any other comments before we go to vote? All right, would someone like to make a motion to approve the lease?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2022-2023 Village Academy lease with New Life Worship Center as presented.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Smith. A motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I will second. Dr. Beadle.
Is that Ms. Walker?
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Motion has been made and seconded. Any other further discussion? I would just like to thank Pastor Davis for being able to even talk about opening that space up for us. It is right in the proximity of the footprint of the Brown Deer School District, so it won't be far away for our students to be able to get there and still feel a part of the district of Brown Deer. So with that being said, all in favor with raised hand and or aye? Seven. All right, motion carries unanimously, 7-0. So now we definitely have a Village Academy lease with New Worship or with New Life Worship Center. All right, sounds good. Now, let's go on to our next item is our item G. And what we will do is these will be with Dr. Garrison, items G and J will go together. So we'll be able to present, Dr. Garrison will be able to present G and J simultaneously.
Thank you, Dr. Beadle and Board of Education. 2 weeks ago, a team of elementary staff and myself presented to the board our goal to adopt the Bridges math curriculum. As a follow-up, the Board of Education asked me to contact the Bridges Math Company in reference to the question of whether or not this was the most updated math curriculum that they offer. And a written response is this is their most updated curriculum, and there are no new curriculums in the process at this time.
Board members, questions for Dr. Garrison in relationship to the K-4 through 5th grade Bridges math curriculum adoption? All right, hearing none. Would someone like to make a motion to approve? Ms. Ashley, I think you are on mute.
Dr. Beadle, I'll make a motion to approve the K-4 to 5 Bridges math curriculum adoption in the amount of $82,316.40 as presented tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ashley. A motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Dr. Beadle.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made and seconded. Any other further discussion before we go to vote? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor with raised hand and or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0. Dr. Garrison and the elementary school, you do now have your math curriculum. We're expecting to be able to have some great results in relationship to that. And thank you and your team for being able to research this and give us potentially the best math curriculum for our students to move forward.
Again, thank you, Dr. Beadle and the school board. With that being said, again, to the entire BDE team and administration for all of the heavy lifting that they have done to get this new curriculum to the adoption phase. Again, thank you so much to the elementary school team. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank all of the teachers as well, Mrs. Overholser, some of the people that helped put this presentation together. Mrs. Overholser, Mrs. Wilson, Mrs. Marks, Mrs. Welnack, Mrs. Krasowski, Mrs. Nuss, Mrs. Ford, Mrs. Gerner, all of these teachers were also a part of this conversation. Mrs. Frank, Vandenboom, Mrs. Pack, Mr. Limley. Again, all of the teachers down at the elementary school, again, thank you so much for working with this pilot program throughout the entire process and getting it to adoption. And so with that being said, I would like to also kind of roll right into our next conversation as it pertains to the summer school update. Give me 1 second, I will share my screen. And so, as you all are very aware, we will have summer school for the 2022 school year. We are excited to welcome back all of our students for summer school. I have with me presenting tonight our elementary principal for the summer, of course, will be Riley Anderson. Our elementary principal for the middle school will be Mr. Henderson. And of course, our high school principal for the summer school program will be Mrs. Probst. The summer school program will start the week of June 13th and go through the week of July the 15th. Please note that the July the 4th through the 8th is our traditional week off that we have here in our school district, and we'll be wrapping up the week of July the 11th through the 15th. And so with that being said, Mrs. Riley Anderson will walk us through some of the opportunities that our elementary will have, followed by Mr. Jay Henderson with the middle school. And then finally, we'll wrap it all up with our high school update from Mrs. Erica Probst. And so I'll turn it over to Mrs. Riley Anderson just to walk us through some of the information that you see here.
Good evening, board members. So at the elementary school, our summer school program will start at 8:25 each morning, and it will conclude at 12 p.m. Students will be served breakfast in the classrooms, and the day will look like, so they'll have 60 minutes of reading. During this time, we'll use our Luke C. Calkins curriculum, which is a workshop model. And we're also working on getting to use our phonics program as well. And we will also be using the Reading A to Z program online. We'll also have a 60-minute math block. We're hoping that our new Bridges materials will be in, but if they're not, we will use Engage New York, which we've been using. And then we'll also be using Dreambox, which is an online program. The students will also have 4 different creative arts or high interests. These will be 45 minutes daily. They'll have an indoor physical education, an outdoor physical education, makerspace, and a health class. And the students will switch through these weekly. So they'll have one high interest each week, and then they'll rotate. So they'll get, through the 4 weeks, they will have gone through all of those. They will also be able to check out books through the library. And then each day, the students will also have 20 minutes of mindfulness, and we'll be using the Minds Up curriculum. For each grade, K-5 through 5th grade, there'll be 2 classrooms. Right now, we're looking at about 15 students per class, some more, some less. So we're looking forward to having the students start. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Anderson, for that very brief and detailed update. I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Henderson to talk a little bit about our middle school program. Mr. Henderson.
Thank you, Dr. Garrison, and thank you for having me tonight. Before I get started, as a rookie, I just want to give thanks to a couple of people behind the scenes. You mentioned Erica Probst, who's been just really a great mentor to me in taking on this new role, as I've never done summer school before, but also Leah Bishop. Her expertise has really been outstanding and just very helpful, again, in coordinating this whole effort here. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the middle school summer program. We will start at 8 a.m. Our schedule is posted. We have 4 blocks. We're really focusing on enrichment. That's the best way for us to draw in students at the middle school level. So these enrichment programs are designed to engage kids in kind of a different way throughout the summer. We do have a literacy program. We have kind of a physical fitness and a wellness program. We have some community service and some different team building activities we want to promote as well throughout the summer. And then of course, there's going to be a kind of a science of cooking option as well. After the 4 program blocks, we will serve a lunch for all students and available to all students, which we will need to eat in the cafeteria within new guidelines for making the meals count. They actually have to eat them in the schools now. And then we have a noon dismissal, a 12 o'clock dismissal. Currently, we have 50 students registered. We will start sending out confirmation emails and letters May 27th. We've had some next steps in place as far as having informational meetings. We're finalizing some staffing assignments. We have some of our assigned rooms ready to go. And we do have a meeting on Tuesday, June 7th, just to check in with staff, to go over some details about fire drills, about room locations where they can pick up keys and stuff like that. And then we of course need to talk to Dr. Garrison about purchasing some materials to make the whole thing run. So that's our update for our summer program for the middle school.
Thank you so much, Mr. Henderson. And next and finally, we'll have Mrs. Probst, who will give us a general snapshot of our high school summer learning opportunity. Mrs. Probst.
Thank you. I'm looking at the slide that Dr. Garrison put up there, and I'll tell you a little bit more about high school. But before I do that, well, I have an audience, a captive audience. I just want to take a second and tell you all, as educators and administrators and staff, and as parents and community members, my heart is so heavy since I've driven home and listening to the news tonight. So I just had to take a second and hug my kids. They haven't heard the news and listened to the atrocities that happened in Texas this afternoon at his school. So man, I just see you all, and I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for all the hard work that you do, and knowing that we do so much to keep everybody safe and love these kiddos all day. So thanks for being part of that team. And on to the matter at hand. Dr. Garrison put up our slide. So the high school is a little bit different. The high school is going to serve students who have incomplete grades and unfinished learning, as we like to refer to it, for the past couple of years during COVID. Some of these pieces we want to put together to ensure that students are ready as we begin the 22-23 school year, and what we pray can be the most normal year that we've had in the last 3. So what we're going to work on with the high schools, we've identified some high school students who still have unfinished learning from last year and the beginning of this year. And we set out letters with registration forms, which is a QR code for families to briefly register. As students wrap up this last quarter and we identify students who continue to have some unfinished learning, we will also register those families for our summer learning lab for the high school students. And what that's going to look like is it will be 8 to noon. We again will also provide breakfast and lunch. But the key part of this is identifying those gaps, especially in math is going to be generally our biggest struggle with high school. Our initial algebra, geometry, and intermediate algebra, or intermediate math, I think. I'm sorry, intermediate algebra. And what they're going to do then is identify those gaps and work with students to fill those gaps. And when we are to a place where students are able to meet those benchmarks for, say, a geometry class, they will then receive a P and be able to be ready for the incoming school year. And that's our goal this summer at the high school. We will continue to identify these students and communicate with families the last couple weeks of school and into the week of June 6th. Are there any big questions that I can answer for you from a high school perspective, or anything else, Dr. Garrison, that you see
Sure.
that we need to add?
Actually, again, thank you, Mrs. Probst. And again, I will open it up to the board to ask any questions from the elementary, middle, and or high school. Dr. Beadle?
Oh, I was going to say, board members, questions? I see your hand up, Ms. Smith.
Just could you, Dr. Garrison, please just outline what SPED supports you'll have in place?
So SPED supports during the summer is just a little bit different because SPED supports typically go through the regular school year. Are you aware of that, Mrs. Smith? Okay, and so they typically go through the regular school year. And during the summer school program, our students will, of course, have access to the Tier 1 instruction and receive support through their teacher. If additional supports are needed, we will have to meet with
probably more with the for the academic portions. What I'm wondering is there any, and it's fine that it's general ed teacher, but will you ensure adapted curriculums? I know they're small classes, so it may not even be, but I was just wondering if we were kind of looking at that.
So we do have very small classes, and I believe we will be able to meet all Tier 1 and Tier 2 needs in the classroom with our classroom teachers. Again, in a typical school year, we'll have a lot more students in each class. In this case, right now, there's 50. We have about 5 or 6, or actually 7 or 8 teachers, 15 or so or less in each classroom as it stands for middle school. If there are specialized learning needs that we would need to work with, we would have to ask Mrs. Dara Tendare to help support that if that is needed. Otherwise, they will be receiving their Tier 1 classroom instruction from their classroom teacher.
Mrs. Smith, in the middle school, we do have some of our fabulous staff that works in the special education department on board with us for the summer. We also have 2 floating positions that are intentionally there to provide support in classrooms in case we have the need to do so. And then we have also doubled up. Ideally, we have 2 staff members for each of the 4 different areas that we're offering. If we base it off of our numbers last year, we'll have about 100 students when it's all said and done, give or take a little bit. So we're looking at about 20 to 25 in each program block throughout the day. And then with 2 staff members, that's a great way to really kind of add that additional level of support so we can make sure that all students are have a place for our, have a place in our program.
Excellent, Mr. Henderson. Thank you for your foresight and making sure that all students have a place. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you.
Great job.
Any other board members have questions? I guess my only question is for the high school. With those seniors that might need some credit recovery in order to be able to graduate potentially during summer school, will that be an option for those students?
Yes, it will. We're in communication daily with the counselors where we hope that number is 0 by the end of this week when it comes to seniors. If we are in a position to provide services, we absolutely will make that available to seniors ASAP and provide those as well. That opportunity is always there for our seniors as well to receive that diploma a little bit later. But again, our hopes and prayers are that isn't the case this week.
All right. Thank you, because I just know that because of the last 2 years, because of some things that have been going on in relationship to credits in classes and things of that nature, I wanted to be able to ensure that our students that may potentially need that credit recovery in order to be able to graduate or whatever would actually have those options available to them.
I have a question. What about students that may have gotten, let's say, a C, C minus, D in math or another course? Are they able to get kind of some additional assistance or be able to change the grade that they have to another grade?
So we don't, at the current time, we don't do grade replacements during summer school. They will receive that passing letter grade. And so that's kind of where we are right now, Mrs. Macon. You do bring up a great question as it pertains to the possibilities there. But at the current time, we do not do grade replacements during the summertime.
All right, board members, any other questions? If none, all right. Thank you very much for that presentation and us being able to look forward that all of our students can have that summer enrichment if needed, and also for our parents to understand and know what that schedule would look like for their student or students to be able to attend a summer schedule and our summer curriculum. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's move on to item H, our budget update. Mr. Klimick.
Good evening again, members of the board. Both of these items will be relatively brief. Unfortunately, I was unexpectedly out of the district late last week on a family situation, so I don't have as complete reports prepared for you this time as I would like. So I will be working on those over the next several weeks, and I can provide those to you via email, and I'll certainly have a more complete report for the June workshop meeting. But just again, reviewing the, I did present the April Treasurers Report for you. Everything is still looking good. I also look at both trying to project salaries going forward, as well as the expenses in our various building and department level areas to make sure that they are all doing well. And I am still anticipating a surplus. Revenue side, we're still looking pretty good on Fund 10. We are down a little bit only because from the last time, only because we had a little bit lower property tax receipts from April than what we had received previously, but we will get the full amount in August when the final payment is made by the village. So that's looking okay. And we still have other pieces that have not yet come in. Still waiting on the emergency connectivity funding, the ECF funding. We'll get our last chunk of equalization aid, our exempt computer aid. That'll all be coming in the next 6 weeks. We'll be there by June. And then I'm also in the process still on a regular basis of claiming for title and ESSER. So our plan is still to have ESSER 2 expended at the end of this fiscal year, and then leave ESSER 3 for the next fiscal year. So it's still looking good. Fund 27 revenue wise, again, it's still a little higher than last year. So that's good in a dollar value and percentage wise. So we are looking good. We are going to be watching very closely at the end with the maintenance of effort piece, just to make sure we don't overclaim like we almost did last year. So we'll watch how those expenses come in. I am anticipating a much lower transfer from the general fund than what you see as a budgeted item. So that will help provide some additional cushion in Fund 10. And then from an expense side, I know last time I gave you a fairly detailed kind of positive and negative accounts, and none of that has really changed. You do look at in Fund 10 from a salary standpoint, we actually have dropped just a little bit, and we're a little bit under the fiscal year to date now compared to where we were a year ago. And I think that trend will continue now as we had some payouts of staff that had left, and now you're seeing the results of the staff that we currently have in place. So that will remain, I think, positive as the year finishes up. Same with benefits that are tied to that as well. Other areas, some of the purchase services are up a little bit, still with utilities, with some of the purchase services, especially related to buildings and grounds. We've been working through that. And then the rest of the lines, again, are very similar to what we had talked about. I am expecting to see a little bit of savings under pupil transportation. And I have confirmed that our open enrollment numbers in and out will reflect what we had budgeted for. Actually, our open enrollment in will be up a little bit because we have a couple of additional year tuition waiver students. So we're actually going to gain a few dollars on the revenue side there. But Fund 10, again, is looking good. We're only 0.16% ahead of last year. And again, remember, we were significantly under budget last year. So that's good. And then finally, with Fund 27, again, that's the piece. Our expenses are currently just barely over where they were last year. And that's with a considerably higher budget. So again, I'm anticipating that to end up probably about the same from a dollar value as it was last year. And that again will reduce that Fund 10 transfer. So hopefully at the next meeting, I'll be able to provide a little bit more precise answer. We'll also be preparing for the end of June. It's a little bit late, but we'll be able to get it done. I will have a budget amendment for you to approve. We'll have to publish it in the paper just to reflect a few of the bigger changes that have occurred, especially the defeasance that we did in Fund 39. So I'll have that information out there as well, so that at least we'll have a revised budget that will be the final budget for the year that will reflect some of those major shifts in revenues and expenses. Are there any questions about the 21-22 budget?
Board members, questions for Mr. Klimick? No questions for you. All right, Kevin. Let's move on now to our item I, our preliminary budget update.
Yes, and again, I'll have a bigger packet for you next time for you to review, as we did last year with the preliminary budget. So we are going through that, and again, the preliminary budget is as we say preliminary. Things will shift a little bit as we finalize staffing for the following school year, and try to look at all of our expenses and make some adjustments along the way. I will say something that just so the staff and the public does know, we've been looking very carefully at our budget. We are expected to use a considerable amount of ESSER $3 next year, and we had to make a call based on our budget. Again, in a situation where the state has provided no additional revenue in the second half of this biennial budget, so we are basically tied to whatever additional monies we will have will come from our student count. And if our student count remains relatively flat, we'll gain a few. If it does drop, we may lose a little bit. So we'll be watching that. But it's very minimal will be the amount of additional money that we would get from the state. So in light of that, we had to make a decision, as all school districts are making, as to how are we going to address staff compensation going forward for the 22-23 school year. And if you see the news, obviously one of the big topic of conversation is CPI. There's a significant amount of obviously inflation is running rampant in our economy right now, and you're seeing high prices in a number of different areas. From a state educational standpoint, CPI, or the cost of living increase for next year, is 4.7%. And that we've determined would be a significant challenge for us to meet. And so the board has proposed to the BDA, to our teachers union, an increase of 3.5% for staff, and then we would follow that along with the rest of our staff as well. So we that's what we're talking about now, that we're trying to help people understand the impact of even that 3.5% and what that looks like, and the cost of all of that, because it isn't just salaries, it's all of the trailing costs that are involved. It's the retirement, it's the WRS, or it is WRS, Social Security, Medicare, all those sorts of things. And then again, including all of our staff in that increase. This would be the largest single increase that we've probably ever done as a school district. And so we're trying to balance all of the needs. You know, you've heard the challenges we have just trying to provide all of the services to our students. And obviously we can have partners like ARCS to be able to provide some of those no cost to the district, but there are other things that we're looking at that we have to do. We did talk about we added an FTE at the high school, or a couple FTE at the high school, which you approved one of the hires tonight, so that we have more art class opportunities for our staff, our students. So we're balancing all of these needs, the ones that for the students, to make sure we're providing all of those services and opportunities, educational opportunities for them, and then trying to be as competitive as we can from a compensation standpoint. So that is where we're looking at, and that's what we're budgeting for right now. As a side note to this conversation, we did release teaching contracts yesterday, so the teachers are aware of what has been proposed, and so we'll again have conversations with the BDA to finalize the negotiation piece. So as we do that, I'm also looking at what other kind of cost shifting we can do to help reduce expenses, because we know that we're not going to have a lot of additional revenue. And I'm trying my best not to use up, I'm trying to limit the amount of ESSER $3 we use. If I can get it to about half or a little more than half is kind of my goal. So that's what we're aiming for. And then, so there's situations like, as we mentioned tonight, that the CLC program will be coming back through a separate federal funding. So that will allow us to pull that out of our ESSER funding. It won't even be something that will be in Fund 80. So it will help reduce our overall levy, which will be good news for our taxpayers. So that's an example of those sorts of things. We're looking at all of our expenditure lines, as Jody alluded to. I'm hopeful that we will be able to have our kitchen spaces sub-metered, so that we can tie those direct costs for gas and electric to Fund 50, to our food service account, which we have a lot of extra money in. And so that may prevent us from having to increase the utilities budget to deal with the cost of natural gas going up and other utilities going up as significantly as they have. So if we can shift those, then that's just a less of an increase we have to address next year as we look at that. And I'll be reviewing all of the expenditure lines to make sure that we are being as tight with our money as possible to help support this salary increase. And then again, part of it is going to be this follow-up on how our current budget ends, especially with Fund 27. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to bring that down and reduce that transfer. And that again will provide us a little more cushion in Fund 10. So again, it's a lot of just sharing you a lot of data, but I did want to make sure we did mention tonight that we are targeting that 3.5% increase. Trying to be as competitive as we can. We're kind of in the middle of where districts are. There are some districts that have publicly stated 4.7. There are others that are in the 2% range. So we're doing our best with the limited resources we have, knowing that we have expanding needs for our students. So I will have a more involved presentation for you next time that you'll be able to look over, and then you'll be doing the final approval of the preliminary budget at the end of June. So I don't know if anybody has any additional questions.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Clemming in relationship to his presentation about the updated budget? All right, thank you very much, Mr. Clemming, for giving us that update, and I'm so sorry for your loss as well too, Kevin. All right, so let's go on to item number 6. Let's go to our SWSA and legislative update.
There was a meeting that I was unable to attend, so I don't have a date, but I will be attending the June meeting.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Walker. All right. All right, let's, our WASB update.
So Dr. Beadle, for the first time in history, I do not have an update for WASB.
What? Okay.
I know.
All right, okay. All right, well, thank you very much, Ms. Ashley. All right, let's go to our Education Foundation update.
All right, for the Education Foundation, our main update for this month is that we have gone through our scholarship applications and made the decision to award 11 $2,000 scholarships for graduating seniors this year. So those will be presented to those winners on Friday morning in the ceremony. And there are a couple of other named scholarships that we have that the process has been a little bit different. So I'll have those updates when those decisions have been made as well.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. All right, and last but not least, our Parks and Recreation report.
Hi, yes. So this is my last meeting reporting as the Park and Recs representative. There were no board or committee meeting last month, or in the month of May rather. The board has voted in Stacy Seth, the board member, as the representative for Park and Recreation. And she will be attending the June meeting and all meetings going forward, and will be giving reports going forward.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Peterson, for that update. All right, and let's go on to our item number 7, our calendar of events. Of course, tonight is May 24th, our regular board meeting. May 28th is high school graduation in the Novak Family Fieldhouse. Dr. Kelsey Brown, what time is the ceremony?
The ceremony will begin sharply at 1 p.m. Doors will close at 12:55. Board members can meet me over at the ASC. Does everyone have their cap and gown? All board members?
I believe so. I believe we've actually, they have been delivered to us.
Okay.
Is there any board member that does not have the cap and gown?
Okay.
Well, the gown rather. We don't need the cap, just the gown.
Correct.
Sorry.
The gown, yes. Excellent. That's good to hear. And so I will be at the ASC if you'd like to meet over there on Saturday morning. I get there at about 10 o'clock. So if you want, you don't have to come as early as 10. Just know that I'll be there for anyone who would like to get dressed at the ASC, and then we all walk over to the field house together.
All right. So the ASC board members, we need to be there between, well, Dr. Kelsey Brown will be there at 10. I would say board members, if we could be there by 12 o'clock. And then that way we get dressed and then be able to get over. Again, the ceremony starts promptly at 1 p.m., 12:55, the doors will close. So for all of those individuals that are still with us, again, doors close at 12:55. And ceremony will start promptly at 1 p.m. Board members, ASC at 12 o'clock.
And if I may also add, Dr. Beadle, we are, Thoreau Elementary School is across the street from us, as we all know, and they have agreed to allow us to use their parking lot on that Saturday. So we're always looking for additional parking because, I mean, it's an overflow. We know we're small yet mighty, but parking continues to be a challenge with so many cars on that day. So we do have access to Thoreau Elementary School's parking lot. We have access to, is it Shalom Church, Jody? Is it Shalom? Okay, Shalom Church, the Old Village Library. We have access to their parking lot. Then of course the elementary school parking lot, and then our own parking lot up here at the middle and the high school. So we try to reach out to individuals that will partner with us to expand our opportunities for parking as well. But again, as Dr. Garrison or Dr. Beadle stated, doors close promptly at 12:55. We will start at 1 o'clock.
All right.
That's great. Glad to hear that about the parking. Will there be signage to direct folks to those other lots?
Yes, Ms. Brown sent all of that information out in her communication to parents. There's a map with all of that information, including all of that information.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so thank you for being able to do that. And if Ms. Brown could she send out one more reminder to all of the parents, letting them know that they ensure that they know that these doors close at 12:55, because we know in the past we've had some issues in relationship to individuals being arriving a little bit late and trying to find places to be able to park and potentially not being able to see their young person be able to walk across that stage in person. But we still also do have, are we also still going to have the video of it out in the commons area, Dr. Kelsey Brown?
It will be in the MAC.
Okay.
In the MAC. And so
Okay,
there
in
will
the
be signs on the doors directing any individuals who may arrive late to direct them to that space.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. All right. So then with that being said, on May 30th, which is Memorial Day, there is no school. June 3rd is the last day of school. June 8th, the Brown Deer Athletic Booster Club meeting in the North Commons at 6:30. June 13th will be our summer school will begin. So parents, if you want your young person to attend summer school, please get them registered prior to June 13th for them to be able to have that educational enrichment during the summer. Also, I guess in relationship to that, will we continue to be a food site again this summer, Dr. Kelsey Brown?
Kevin, Mr. Clement can speak to that for you.
Yeah, we will be during summer school, but only on days that we'll be offering summer school. So it will be open to the community, just breakfast and lunch. It is again, with the changes now to the rules, we're going back to what the regular summer option was. So as they call it, the non-congregate waiver, which basically meant you could grab and go, that's gone. So you do have to consume the meals on campus. So they'll be serving lunches at both the elementary cafeteria and here in the South Commons at the middle high school.
All right. And I guess that this is going to be a question, and the one that I even hate to bring up, but if numbers do spike in relationship to COVID, how does that affect the lunch delivery for open campus for individuals that may want to be able to come and get a lunch? How would that work?
Again, currently there are no additional waivers available, so people could come, and I mean, we could certainly social distance as much as possible if that was the situation. I don't know if all the kids do stay for lunch or whether some leave and there's only some that will be here. But we certainly have space. It's not like a regular lunch period because as Jay mentioned, we may have 100 kids in summer school. So we certainly have the room in the commons to accommodate them, as well as, and then at the elementary school, it would be 170, I think they said right now. And then there may be some kids that would join us for summer playground potentially as well. So I think we have enough space. It's probably smaller than a normal lunch period would be during the school year. So we'll just have to do some social distancing if that does turn out to be the case.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clemick. And then June 14th is our special board meeting in the middle school commons at 6 p.m. And then June 28th, our regular board meeting in the middle school commons at 6 p.m. All right, let's go on now to our item number 8, motion to go into closed session. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to enter into closed session to district administrative evaluation and deliberate regarding negotiations, bargaining pursuant to Wisconsin State Statutes 19.851 CE.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. The motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All right, Ms. Ashley, let's go on the roll call vote.
Beto,
Aye.
Daniels Ashley, aye. Macon. Peterson,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
So that is a unanimous vote, and we will move into closed session at 7:55 PM.
All right, thank you very much. So those individuals that are getting ready to leave us, thank you very much for attending the District of Brown Deer School Board meeting. Have a wonderful remainder of your evening, even better rest of your week. Hope to see you at our graduation for our seniors that are graduating on Saturday. And thank you very much. And enjoy the rest of the remainder of your evening. We will now go into closed session. Thank you.
Wait a minute.